Is that working, guys? It says... I don't know what happened. My internet cut out. Because I don't know what happened to even here. And I was like, why the hell does that have to happen at 2:30 of all times? Hold on. It logged me out of everything. It's so annoying. I think MARA finally broke too. Yeah, it did. Of course they would do that like at the worst time. Tesla got a really good stick break to 450. I think NQ got a stick break here too above that 4.3. These are the 34-point breaks on NQ, so this is setting up to get to that 25,271. It's not strange, my internet went out. I don't know why my internet went out though, that's weird. They did test 9.7. They haven't really cleared 9.750 yet though. And this was right at 230, 232. Mostly because 230 negated risk. This makes sense though, because I would have preferred that this right here would have broken by 0.25. Do you see this? Right here. So that could be why they're stalling 0.25 right here. Can you guys see the screen or no? I don't know why on my side it's blank. Where did my Twitch go? Okay, let's see what kind of range breaks they can give us here. I don't know if I... Can you guys hear me still? Because I had initially turned on my hotspot, but I turned it off, so I don't know if it is still connected. Because I never even connected to the hotspot. It had started working right before I connected, so I'm pretty sure it just reconnected to my actual home internet. So they're at least testing this 9.7 mark, see if they can get some breaks by 3.8. This could really help keep us in play for our 3 o'clock period. Like I said, they have to at least take out 9.6 and test 9.7. This still isn't high enough though to have like continued structure breaks this afternoon. I would say that they definitely need at least over like this 9.875, 9.9. This is still a good range though. I think we definitely have decent odds to get 6,800 break today though. 236 retesting 679625, or 236, sorry, see if they can get this structure break off 238. We're basically reduced by 0.25 in range here. This was the highest odd for testing this 9750 area at this point in the day, specifically because of where we closed at 1:59 and 2 o'clock and actually meeting the condition of 96 before 1:30. There it is, 9750 being tested here at 237. We could see a volatility stick at 238, just FYI. What the hell is wrong with my computer today? You guys can cover some up here if you guys want. It's obviously up to you. If you want to wait for the 6800 test too, that's completely fine. They definitely have odds until 3. They haven't really closed above the 50 mark yet though. We do need a better closing price point here to see more constructive PA. With the 3.6 getting at least the 9.750 break helps us a little bit for some extensions through 3 o'clock. I'd imagine they could start seeing some volatility off these ranges here, especially over the next few minutes. Do you guys see the slight volatility coming in here after 236 basically stalled this 9.750 mark off this 3.839? And 2.25 has been very common today too in range. These are exactly back to that 67.9925. This number has shown up a lot today when I've done these range calculations. I would imagine that they're probably going to get this pretty close to that 6,800 mark. Right here. Yeah. That's exactly 6,800. This is exactly 6,800.5 during this volatility period. Do you see this? So just be a little bit careful. I figured that we could see some volatility there. You could easily have covered some off 9.7 just because they could reduce range now and then stall, especially if they want to keep the session a little bit pinnable and compress range this afternoon, because we could be getting very close to hitting some max ranges for the session today. They're bringing it back to that neutralized point back to 9.394. Kind of like in this area here. What time is this? So you could see if they try retracting range back by the 4.5, 4.8 window. Otherwise, they're still technically at risk of back testing here. Tesla's still pretty strong though. Microsoft had a really nice continuation if anyone traded that. It went to that 530 mark, like I said. Anyone take Microsoft? Even off 521, so the area was 521, 525, 530 or so. I didn't do the exact ranges, but just kind of figured they could easily push this to that 530 area on Microsoft today. Amazon got a really, really, really good push off of our calculated range. If you want to mark that on your chart, that level is 216.02 for Amazon. Okay. Let's just mark it on here. It was a really solid structural hold. Essentially, this is kind of the range that they could trade this into, okay? Especially if they start holding. And this is where this could be headed to. On Amazon, it's like to 251 or so. And this would be aligned with highs. So this area, this low structure right here is extremely calculated, okay? Like where they held this low here. This is a very calculated spot for Amazon. Use the horizontal line instead. I didn't carry Google over the weekend solo, but I did trade it this morning when it held that 246. We can look at that one later. Kind of like when they brought it back over 247, because this is heading to that 252.98. That was the range that we looked at. Yeah, Microsoft is really clean. That's the one that could get to 550. They're all really nice setups. I did say that Google, Microsoft, and Amazon were all lagging last week, and they could be some good names to watch into this week. And so far, that's playing out to be pretty true. Like a lot of these were kind of just stuck consolidating. Amazon still looks the best out of the three because this one could easily come back and engulf today. Amazon could be an engulfing bar today. Just FYI. And then Microsoft was just kind of making a nice potential flag on that daily. So let's see, for this one to engulf, this has to be back over this range in here. I think it's getting close to that 50% range right here. Yeah, it is. I would watch Amazon here. That could get a really nice break over 50% of its range. That's also a really good structural hold right here too. Well, I did say last week though too that they could be better setups into next week or into October 16th, right? So they're just really good daily structures. I didn't know if the second was enough odds because we had way more flips for October 6th anyway. We never really had too many flips for the 3rd last week. So odds weren't really as high. We have more flips on the 6th and then again through the 15th, 16th, and 22nd. This could easily break here though. Definitely a little bit more range on some individual names. So Google, Amazon, Microsoft. Google, we did say could engulf. Remember, we said this one could have an outside bar as early as today. I didn't think it was going to happen today on Google, but there are some odds that it could. The 8th made a little bit more sense for 7th and 8th, but that would be like the 255 break. So Google also setting up for an outside bar scenario too. And this one was also flagging off the 8-day and then flips over again here on the 10-day. I think the reason why we said it might not on the 6th is because of this 10-day bar, but then we said that I think the 11-day is already flagging, so this was like the conflicting setup, but maybe they could at least retest, and this is stuck until the 17th. So I think what we said on Google is if it tries retesting highs during the 6th and 7th, it has really good odds of breaking out of this massive 3-bar break before the 17th, 16th. And they have earnings, I think, end of month, so this could continue through until month end, basically. Kind of like this. Okay. So there are a lot of really nice setups. It's kind of just whether or not you are taking them. And I already mentioned all of these a bunch of times too, so. It did give entries though. Like, no, it did give entries though. You even got to pull back to 247 and 245 on Google. Well, after today, you wouldn't want it to. If your goal is to break range by the 6th, 7th, you don't want it to pull back. That defeats the whole purpose, Snack. Even Amazon though, if Amazon doesn't break this range here, then you probably won't get an outside break. So if it doesn't break range here, then probably have to buy further dated, maybe for next week or something. This is the exact kind of PA I expected during this 2-3 p.m. period, is basically to test 9-7, okay, but then maybe stall 9-8, mostly because of where they opened off 2 p.m. because it was just beneath 9-6 but just above 9-4, which is still a little bit conflicted, like at least a point and a half in range. We couldn't close candle above 25. What's your dream? What's your dream? To short this? I mean, structure so far on NQ is pretty good. Like off these areas here. This area here. This area right here. This is probably the most important structural hold right here. These breaching sticks are what are basically preventing us from getting the ranges that we're looking for. That's a 17-point ratio. That's interesting. So 17 points here. Oh yeah. A 22.2550. 25.250. Oh, is this 250? That's crazy. If they actually stall there, that would basically mean that ES stalls 50-100 today. So look at this. Are you paying attention to this euro? This reduction that they gave off the calculated area of 25.125. Do you see this? You see how they breached below by basically 17 points? And you see where they're stalling right here? You could be on to something because this is a calculated reduction here of basically the 17-point ratio from the max range of 25.270. So I guess if they stall there, that's a calculated area to stall. But we technically still have odds of getting there, since if they want to offset this risk that they implied here or imposed here, they have to break this. Does that make sense? Like this area here. Because this is what they're stalling by, which is 25252. For ES, it's basically them taking this back beneath 8.5 versus holding 8.8, right? Or even taking it back beneath 6.8 back here. It's not much, maybe like, so if it's 17 points for NQ, it's basically like 2.75 to 3 points for ES, right? Like beneath these areas here, 2.75 I would say to 2.5 points. And this is probably why they're stalling beneath the 9.9 area to 800. Do you see what I'm saying? Like this is why they're probably stalling highs. It's the same sort of reduction, I guess. I would give it till at least 3 o'clock though. Because if they get another break here at 3 o'clock, then Bitcoin testing 126, 126K on the line here for crypto. I think that this could easily see that break to 129,000 probably by the end of the week if they see this continuation break on Bitcoin. There's a big flip tomorrow on this in terms of bar reductions. Let's see what kind of break they give us here. Look at how they're just stalling. That's insane. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to put caps, by the way. I just had caps on. The only way you can be positioned ahead of time, snack, honestly, this is just the harsh truth, is to not be scared and to just buy and be able to take on risk. You have to basically be okay with losing. That's the only trick to it. You buy off major support and that's it. Okay? You measure your odds and that's it. Otherwise, everything else is in hindsight. Like, there's no other way to put it. If you're scared to buy, you're not going to make money. Like that, once the move happens and then you're looking at it and waiting for a pullback, then I don't know what to tell you. Kind of like off 6.6 or 6.8 today, right? If you didn't buy 6.6, 6.8, and then you maybe wanted to start entering around 8.8, do you get what I'm saying? It's like you have to be willing to take risk. That's the whole point of trading. What do you mean? Just do very basic strategies then. If you don't even, you have to understand at least basic price action, basic volume, basic structure, basic candles. You have to know at least the base theories to trading. You have to know at least supply and demand. You have to understand odds. So if we have decent odds until October 16th for the index, chances are that what sector would ramp until the 16th. And this is why you should be focusing on mega cap names, especially in which sector. Which sector should you be focused on? Yeah, exactly. Crypto hitting the 126K here. Tech, yes. Mega cap tech, that's what I've been saying. Watch Amazon, watch Google, watch Microsoft. These are really big names. Crypto getting a nice move here. That's the 126K break with volume. Today's the flip date too, so we actually broke right on time for October 6th flip on BTC. I measured this 2 weeks ago. Isn't that crazy? For today to retest highs. We measured this literally 2 weeks ago for highs to retest and hit 126K today. That's nuts. And we said that we were working with 9 to 11 day intervals on this. So I think this is off this bar. This is the 11-day interval here. Do you see that? And then off the actual structure break, this is the 9th day. So this is where they could see that extension through the 8th. Do you see it? And this is also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is a 6 bar. So if they really want to expand range, which means hitting 126 today, they could push this to 129K by tomorrow or Wednesday. Isn't that insane? Especially if they don't stall. I'm not even a crypto trader either. Maybe I should be a crypto trader. MARA getting a nice clean break here. This is that 2021 test. This is kind of where I figured they would take this to here. I want to see if they can get breaks of 2030, 2032. Yes, still stalling and reducing range here. Yes, stalling right off this this 9.6 and 9.2 hold. That's a good area because it's calculated euro. Like this is the equivalent of this. So they breached it 17 points below, meaning they could stall at 17 points below before taking it to this range here. So that's a really good analogy from what you are looking at. I would just be a little bit careful because they could bring it back after 3. Does that make sense? So like there could be some turnarounds right after 3, especially if 2:59 and 3 o'clock get some good closes. So if you get like a good closing stick at 2:59 and 3 o'clock that are a little bit more progressive than the 1:59 period here. So like if you pay attention, like back in here, you see how they were trading beneath this area here at this time? Do you see this? Them trading above this area here at this time can give you way higher odds of actually taking out 25,252. So on ES, it's the equivalent of them trying to take this. Wow, these are really nice structure breaks on MARA. I'm looking for that 2030, 2032 break on this, and that's what could give us these bigger pushes to 2060, 2074. So on this one, you'd probably want to get back to at least, there isn't really much odds for progression during the 2 to 3 p.m. period because it was beneath 9.6 but above 9.4. So that's basically sideways, right? With slight progression on each end. Meaning you could make a slightly higher high during that period and a slightly lower low. Does that make sense? Which you did. You made a slightly higher high, a slightly lower low during this period. Your window reopens up again after 3. So far, 5.9 is not really showing much progression here. I'm not sure about NQ. NQ looks a little bit better than ES does, though, because at least NQ is above this 25238. There's that 2030 test here. I think I have an alert set here, but I want to set one just a little bit higher. Like these kind of stick breaks for this period here, this would imply volatility for the last hour. Because it's beneath 9.4, but above 90, okay? And still stalling 9.8. This could widen your ranges basically in terms of upside and downside. So it kind of keeps things conflicted on both ends. See if you get some immediate negations off 01. Where did they close that? Oh, okay, so they closed it like right at that spot. Do you see that? Do you see that for the 3 o'clock? Like off that 2523875? That's technically enough to keep it at an odd of retesting that high during this 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. interval. I'd watch Microsoft here. Tesla could see that 455, like I said today. If they want to reduce range just a tiny, tiny bit, they could, but not by much. Maybe closer to like 453. You see that negation stick at 301? Watch to see what they do by 305. Typically, you can have a 5-minute window. I think I've taught you guys that before, right? Look at the liquidity, guys, that came in at our calculated price of 126.41. Isn't that insane? So 2 to 3 p.m. window, or 3 to 4, sorry, kind of extends ranges a little bit because they closed it a little bit too low, but just high enough to still keep odds in place since conditions were met in terms of where they tested during that window. We're basically stuck in the bear zone, which is between 8.8 and 9.9, which is basically just beneath all-time highs. Did anyone try any short hedges off of 9.7? Can you guys see the compression now that we're in the last hour? Really nice stick break here on Tesla, close to 452. MARA getting that break of 2030, testing 2032. This is what could push this to that 2074 mark, by the way. I had max range on this one of 2139, 2150. I'm not sure if it gets there today. Like I figured maybe for the week, but since crypto is breaking, this could easily have some nice continuation. They're bringing this back to that 6790.25 on ES. So if they stall here, this is kind of relative for Tesla. So this is basically the midpoint between these ranges, okay? So if they're going to give odds of getting that 455 break, are you guys listening? They have to take out this half range around 452 with strength and probably with some liquidity. Do you see it? Look, Tesla has pretty good odds of getting 455 today. Relative to the structure breaks around 452. ES needs to see some defense here above 6790.75. That being said, it needs at least back over this 9496 mark. What time is it? 3:07. ES usually has odds at this period here. 09, 12. Noble Mom, you say open, open, open. Where is it trading? What is it doing? What did it break? Like, what trigger? I hate when you guys just put out names without saying what it did. What did it do? Did it get our alert triggers? Yeah, so say open, 808 hold, 907 break, okay? Write that. Start giving actual like alerts to the chat so that people know what's happening. Like you're capable of doing that stuff too. Right? So 979, right? You could be looking for this break here. This is a really solid structural hold off that 808. Yeah, it is, but look at how much nicer the structure is on it now, though. Like above that, whatever 88 spot that we just, 808, this. These are good structure breaks on Tesla here, especially off these calculated spots. This is a secondary area here, 452.52. And Mary's kind of just stalling the the 3-2 mark. I hope my analysis on Apple helped you guys kind of just maybe stay away from this one today. Maybe position, but for like end of week or next week on this one. All right, let's see here. See if they can bring back range. So 309 brought it back above that 9.2. I want to basically see if they can try getting some breaks around 312, back over 9.4. ES usually has some windows here, so this is a pretty decent hold. There's the 9.4 retest here off the 10 stick. MARA getting that 3.2 break. There it is. I didn't really have too much overhead between these areas here, so this is where it could maybe start pushing. We'll have to see. Maybe some overhead around 40.41. I'm just going to mark that, okay? Yeah, still getting stuck here. YouTube boo, thank you. Figured this one could just see some nice stick breaks here because I didn't really have much overhead above 2030. Maybe the first area could stall as close to like 2040. Crypto would obviously have to get some retracements back up too, though. Tesla getting its first stick break off that 312, right above that 452, taking out or testing 453. ES getting a negation stick here, keeping odds in play for 312. Let's see if they can get it. How much time is left in this? They definitely delayed this today because they know that there's a limitation in range. 2040 being tested here on MARA. I didn't really think that there'd be any overhead here until maybe about here. If they clear this spot right here, this could easily ramp to 2050. I'm thinking this can get to that 2074 mark today. Anything above that is technically a bonus. 44.1 would be some slight overhead on this one here. There it is, 2040 in a single stick on MARA. This gives some pretty good odds for continuation on this name. There's that 2041 single stick break. Those calls are doing pretty good if you guys took them this morning. 2074 in play. 2050 some overhead. Tesla getting some clean sticks above that 452.52. You could put some fibs in here if you want. I would think that they're probably testing the 618 range in here. Yeah, you probably need a break of at least 6.6. Maybe some stalls around 454. But this one had some pretty good odds of getting a test of 455 today. ES kind of still stuck though, sadly. MARA getting some volume here, not too much, but this is better than nothing. Yeah, sorry. It's just between 6799 based on where they opened, closed, where they tagged the lows. The range is kind of compressed. They're probably bringing us to 6799, 6800.5, 6801. Does that make sense? Either just below or just above all-time high. It's 33 to 34 points in range, or 12 to 13 points off OR. Make sense? That's the quickest recap I could probably give. Like that's all it is. And they stalled during, they met 9-6 test, which keeps us durational till close, but because they also stalled the 3 p.m. window, that's what compressed range a little bit. So I think odds of us getting this area up here today are now limited because they didn't extend during our mid session. Does that make sense? Like break 9-6, 9-7, but they still have some odds of at least getting a potential retest of 6799, 6800. I would just be a little bit careful because obviously it's not very much range to work with anyway, so you don't want to be giving back all your gains just for a few points. Does that make sense? Or you could just have a hedge off the 9-6, 9-7 area, like I said earlier. Especially since there's odds that they could retest both ends during this period. On NQ, the equivalent was 25252. That's the reduction beneath this 25,270 range, and the amount that they breached beneath it was about 17 points. So based on the fact that NQ was 17 points, it would make sense that ES is probably ranging that 33, 34 max range for the session today off lows. 6, 7, 8, 8, 8, 9 being retested here off 121. We'll see if they can try holding, or 321, sorry. We'll see if they can try holding the line here and retracting range by 324. Oops. Are you guys understanding what I'm saying here? So if they want to try mitigating risk a little bit here, I think they have to try getting back over, at least over 90.75. Otherwise, this could really extend our ranges here this afternoon. I don't really want them taking it back beneath the zone, personally speaking, because then that could keep us a little bit back and forth for the next few days. This is pretty tight here, though. We'll see if they can get some retracements off that 2-4 or 2-5 flip. Ideally before imbalance prints come out, so you probably want to get at least back to here before then. Does that make sense? To even give you odds of getting back to here by imbalance prints, just to stabilize this a little bit. Like basically back to this yellow line here. Does that make sense, you guys? This would still keep us within range. MARA getting a break here. See if they can try tagging that 2050 mark. I did set some alerts on that. $67.90.50 being retested here. See if they can give breaks off. What time is it? Like 1:27, so 3:27 Eastern time, 3:28. Imbalance prints usually start coming out around then, so here. Because you can think of this as like, this area you're basically playing with fire this afternoon. Okay. Like you're still at major risk in this area here. You start to stabilize a little bit more right here. Above 9.4 is where odds get a little bit better. This is where odds increase. Okay. So see if the 2-7 stick break can give us some odds to at least get back to a neutralized state. Neutralized state is probably above 9.2 but beneath 9.4. Does that make sense, guys? Risk area is between 8.8, 8.9. You're still kind of playing with fire between 90, 9.1. You get neutralized above 9.2 through 9.4. You have way better odds, probably closer to like 9.550 to 9.7. You still have risk beneath around 8.7, 8.8. You still have reward above around 9.9 to 800. Does that make sense? It's about, you still have about 2.25 points in range on each end. And that seems to be a pretty common theme here today. So let's see what kind of range they can get us back to here by 3:30. If they keep us stuck in a neutralized state, like so basically above 990 but beneath 9.6, like in this area here, that's where it could just end up being a very pinnable close. Which is obviously fine too, like that doesn't, they don't necessarily have to break today. Today's just a day of getting back into the zone, just to reduce risk for end of the week. Well, these aren't really ranges for entry though. These were pinnable spots. Your ranges for entry are off of 6.6, 6.8, 70, 7.1, 7.4. Basically beneath 7.8, but above 6.6. Right? These aren't really ideal areas for day trading. Like if you're going to buy some time, maybe. You're stuck within a 10 to 12 point range. This is also a compressed trade above 8.5, 8.8. So I don't really think that doesn't mean that you don't understand the market or you can't trade this market. You just don't understand the dynamics of this trade. This is a compressed trade. And we figured that when they kept stalling 9.6 during these periods here, but they still broke the range. Not quite high enough though in order for this to get expansions on upside, but still enough to keep it in play for a potential test of 9.7, 9.8. 67.88 being retested here at 3.30. This is where range can start expanding a little bit. MARA stalling off that 2050 mark with some reduction on this stick, so just be a little bit cautious there. See if they can have an immediate negation stick here. I'm good, thank you. How are you? So if you want to try like a long, this technically would be an area here. Okay, but you'd have to probably set a very tight stop because they'd have to immediately negate. So like you see how it's trying its best to immediately push off 8.8? That's implying that our range is pretty accurate in terms of like this being an area of like max risk potentially for this afternoon. If they want to actually retrace this back, but then your conditions have to be that you see back here how they took it back above 90.75, but they couldn't progress over 9.1. Your conditions here at like 3.30, 3.32, you'd have to get back over 90.75, but you have to actually push closer to 9.2 this time. Does that make sense? That's an entry. Your short entries are closer to 9.6, 9.7. The area that I would avoid is between basically between 9.2 and 9.5. Like this is not really an area that you should touch because you're limited to 12 to 13 points in range. So if you get like even 12 points, that's only enough to get you back to here. Does that make sense? Pretty decent save off that 20-30 mark on this one. Yes, kind of stalling that 67.90.5 here. You probably want to see some breaks before 136, at least to kind of stabilize this a little bit off of 8.8. Otherwise, this could be in store for some late day volatility, which I do want to avoid, ideally. I'd rather this kind of stay range bound between this area here, if anything. So what do you guys think? You think that they hold the line off 8-8? Can't believe the session's almost over. I feel like today actually went by pretty fast. You're not going to hold the line unless you actually get some retracements back here, though. Like, this needs to at least get back over this area here and probably take out this range. And it's definitely running out of time here. So how important do you guys think it is that 336 negates here? It's just holding above 8889, but still beneath 90.75, 90.50 at 335. Yeah, probably super important because now you're becoming at like a higher risk of breaking back into core ranges. We did open in the zone today, so that gives us better odds of actually closing in the zone. But that being said, I think that they need to at least bring this back into these areas here before the last 15 minutes of the close. Can someone document the 336 stick, please? 336 retesting our 6790.75, 6791. These are the kind of breaks we need at this point in time to try to stabilize some of the risks that we have into the final 15. 6790.75 close. This is more progressive than this 2625 stick here. Do you guys see this? Because that's a proper structural close now. See if they get continuation by 3-8. Ideally, you want to at least be back closer to like 9-2. By the last 15, I would say, especially by like 347, 48, it would be nice if they could bring us back to 9-4. At least just to kind of mitigate some of this risk a little bit. Let's start setting some... Do you guys see this? So 38, giving some odds of a retest here. So far 363 are constructive. I did want to see if they'd at least retest this 9-1 mark. Probably better if they can get over this 9-2 wall. There's 30 seconds, so I mean, they have some odds. It would be ideal to get back at least to here by the 4-5 mark. Ideally back to here before 350. Just to offset some of this risk that we're facing right now, because this is still not a high risk trade, but you guys get the idea, right? Give me your max range for real time. How many think that the high of day is in? Some volume coming in now. We're not going to really progress, like I said, until they get some breaks at least back over 9294. What would give you an odd of your high of your current high of day breaking? What condition would have to be met for this high of day to potentially break? Give me some conditions. Okay, that could be one, but by one. I'd say that you'd probably have to be at 9.4 closer to like this point here for that to be an odd. For actually a high of day break versus just a retest, you probably need at least back over 9.6 by like this 355, 54 mark. By 350, at the least, you would need at least over 9.4. I don't think 9.4 is enough to give you a break of highs. It's enough to at least give you an attempt to retest highs, but you'd have to clear it by like the 354, 355 mark. You haven't even cleared 9.2 yet. Like, you have to at least clear 9.2, right? Because you're still at the risk of this. Like 9.2 stalling here. So if you get a break of 9.2 by 345, that's okay. I would say you'd probably want to take out 9.4 before 350 for that to even be a probability. Otherwise, that could just imply that you're basically just pinning the close. Does that make sense, you guys? In terms of like how to interpret this? Because it's not like they still held 8.8, but that still leaves some risk if they're beneath 9.4. It's not really like the most ideal range. It's kind of just what the market's giving us this afternoon. So you definitely have to start seeing some better, more constructive PA after the 345 mark. Otherwise, like I said, this is still at risk here, which could easily take us back to testing. Also, don't forget, remember earlier this afternoon, they left a little bit of room. Remember how I said we had room to 8.1, 8.2? We technically still have that room here, right? Like that room never went away. We still could afford some risk there, but that's mostly relative to whether or not they stall these price points, which is also a bear zone. This area is a bear zone, so technically bears still have some control in this area here. I'm gonna mute myself if that's okay. some key things to note here. So, hold on. They didn't test 9.2 here, okay, but they still brought it back to that 90.75. Do you guys see that? Just ahead of the 4.5 mark, and then they closed above at 4.5. So this is very, very, very compressed range. It's kind of like they're meeting like absolute minimal conditions. Does that make sense? Which is what can keep you very, very, very compressed into this close. So that starts limiting you to like even being able to test 9.2 by like 348, 349. Okay? Which heavily reduces odds of getting breaks over 9.4 by 350. Euro, you got your stall at 25,250. NQ also still pretty weak here, which isn't really helping ES. XOM getting a pretty decent break into the close here off that 114 mark. So ranges do expand here beneath 8.8. We still had that room to 8.1, 8.4 if they were to break back down beneath the zone. The best case scenario at this point would be to keep it extremely tight, but that's not looking very likely with them keeping it so close to 8.8 before 350. Want to take off the candles, the sticks here, because I want to see what kind of range they break. Are you guys okay if I start deleting these? Because I want to be able to see this a bit more clear for 4.8. Like, I feel like the only way that this can really try to defend this is 4.9 has to be a pretty big stick. Otherwise, there's definitely that risk of us heading beneath 8.8. They haven't even been able to break back over 9.2. The only way that they could avoid that is if they wanted this to be pinnable right into the close. They'd really have to hold the line at 350 to keep it, which does happen sometimes, by the way, if they hold it very, very, very tight, but then don't fully break down at 350. Sometimes they do that just to pin the close. And if they know that they're limited on range, then that tends to be the case. This is a very good session for an example of having limitations in range. Does that make sense? They're trying to bring this back over that 90 mark here. Do you see that? They're trying to push this for 4.9 just to give an odd for 350 to attempt 9.2. See if this can attempt it in the first 10 seconds. 92.50 retest here. This is what I'm talking about. So this is the only way that they could give an odd for not breaking down range. It'd be a very, very, very tight hold off 8.8. And then a retest of 9.2 at 350. But they have to progress at 5.1, 5.2, 5.3, 5.4. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, they can't afford risk down. It usually happens when they want to pin the close and they only have so much range to work with. Okay? This still needs over 9.4 though. So remember how I said if they don't break it up before 350, but they don't break it down at 350, bring it back over 9.2, you basically need to try getting back to 9.4 by like 354 to even give you any odd of a retest by 4 o'clock. 67.92 close at 350. 6793.5 stall, I think, at 350. They're trying to reduce risk a little bit here into the close, not by much, but just by a little bit. 355, 54 were kind of the cutoffs for getting back over 9.4. Meaning you have to have progressive sticks at 5.1, 5.2. This is a really good example, guys, of a tight lining close with limited range, okay? Also, if they want to just save things until the final minute. What could help you guys progress in this case scenario? I don't think it would happen, but what could help you progress? Hurry, 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 because there's only a minute. What would help you progress in this case scenario? And increase your odds of a potential high of day retest in real time versus after the bell. No. I said I don't think it would happen. I still don't think it would happen. No. 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 No, you guys, come on. If you're trying to break 9.4 by 5.4, the only way you could maybe progress is if you did that ahead of 5.4, okay? So you'd have to probably try testing 6393.75 at this point in time. Does that make sense? That's the only way you could progress, because you'd already be ahead of the condition ahead of time, which could give you odds to extend. You get that? I said I don't think it would happen because I really don't. I feel like they would save that till 354. 67.93 close at 353. 5.4, 5.5 were kind of the cutoff periods for a 9.4 retest here. Otherwise, volatility could start to kick in. There's already some reduction in range on this stick here. We'll see what they do off the 30-second interval. They still held off 9.1. It is starting to get a little bit more compressed up here. Ten seconds on that stick. I'd be more concerned if they don't take out 9.4 off 355. $67.94 stalling off 354.55. Some reduction on these sticks. This is implying that they're going to keep this extremely pinnable into the close here. MARA crossing that 2050 mark into the close. Really, really good range on MARA into the close. Maybe we actually might tag that 2074 target here into the final few minutes. I had a sell order set at 2050. I think that's gonna at 150. I think that'll trigger it. Just hit 150 here on the bid. That's a really nice break here on MARA into the close. This was my max range on this today for real time. Maybe they actually might hit it. Let's see. I don't know how many of you guys were patient with that one and held it. I think Tesla also came back above, or pretty close to coming back above this range here. So based on where they held, okay, 2060 being tested here. How much time do we have left? 2 minutes. You probably need some progression at 5.8 though. Tesla looks like it could get this stick break here. MARA 2060 being tested at 5.8. This could hit max range here into the close. We'll have to see. It's like 10 cents off. I feel like they'd probably do it after the bell, if anything. I think ES is kind of limited here for real time. Right back to that 8.8 mark for 359. This could imply some volatility for 4 o'clock on ES since they couldn't break that 9.4 mark. So no breaks by 5.8 imply that they'd probably test 8.8. It's kind of a battle between 8.8 and 9.4 for end of the session today. I think XOM had a pretty good retracement back into the close. I still held my calls on this. I like the way it looks. And I held half the MARA calls just because this is setting up for a pretty nice move. 2060 stall here. This probably does break after the bell on MARA. ES couldn't get any breaks above 9.4, especially around that 354.55 mark. Its final cutoff was around 5.8. That range reduction stick brought it right back down to 8.8, 8.7. It's basically limited in range above 8.8, beneath 9.9. It's kind of just stuck in this little zone here, and it seemed like that would be the case based on what they did this afternoon and compressed range. We'll see where they end up pinning it. Ideally, we did want to stay above 6.788. We opened at 6.788, which gave us high odds of sustaining that zone area there. Tesla broke right into the close here, so testing 454. I had a max range for the session on this around that 455 mark. It could easily hit that after the bell. Okay, I just finished all my positioning. Do you guys have any questions before I sign off? Or are you guys pretty good on, I guess, this afternoon in terms of what went on, why we stalled, the compression in range, being a little bit limited to potentially 32, 34 points on the session off lows to highs? I guess the compression that occurred because of this window here between 12:30, 1:30, 2 o'clock, 2:30. They started really compressing us right here. There's still some odds that they could take this up, but the thing is we didn't have super high odds for the 6th. The goal for the 6th was to just to bring us back to the zone area. So that's 6.788 with odds of getting back to 6.799. We basically want to neutralize before midweek. Does that make sense? So before Wednesday, because technically speaking, our risk can increase by midweek. So the higher in range we can achieve by midweek, the higher the odds of us sustaining 6.766, 6.766, 6.8. And honestly, if you guys listened to Sunday's stream or read the report, this is pretty spot on so far. So my thoughts into this week were we want to open at least above 6.668. Ideally, we want to hold 6.8. We don't want to break back any lower. We want to get back to the 67.88, 67.90 with odds of retesting this area up here and potentially pushing to this neutral zone between 05, 10, 12, let's say, okay? So, but the idea is you have to hold the line above 6.668. So far, we've done a really good job of doing that. We're successful still in getting a zone close today. I want to see some progression tomorrow, even if it's just a very small doji day. I don't really care, as long as we expand in the zone a little bit tomorrow, okay? So we do have some structures that flip on the 8th. This flipped over today, and it isn't an inside day, so just something worth noting, hence maybe the tightening in range. Most of these run until the 16th, but there's multiple flips, guys. on October 8th, okay? Which means the 7th is the final day, meaning we have a little bit higher odds to take out range tomorrow. Does that make sense? And that could be part of the reason why they compressed us today. Okay, so they held the line, but they kept us beneath 9798. Okay, because they know that there's only so much range that we're working with right now. Overnight conditions, if someone wants to set them real quick here. Overnight, I would like us to likely hold at least these core ranges, ideally above 7879, closer to like the 8283 area this time, since they avoided it in real time here. So it kind of gave us, that's actually really good that they avoided it in real time, guys, because this now gives us odds of holding this area overnight. Okay, so them avoiding it during this period here and this period here is going to help our overnight conditions of sustaining this range. So now we basically have some risk that we could afford overnight, which is good, because if they would have brought it down in real time, that would have really put us at some risk for the overnight session. Does that make sense? So we could afford some risk back here to these ranges here, but ideally would like to see them try taking out the 9899 by tomorrow if we can sustain here.